The drought had scorched the plains into a cracked wasteland, leaving only dust and the desperate who refused to leave. Seraphina could not speak, her voice stolen by a fever that took her parents and left her utterly alone. But her grandmother, a woman of the old ways, had taught her hands to speak to the earth. She had also taught her a melody, a low hum that vibrated through the soil like a distant, ancient heartbeat. The settlers whispered that she was touched by spirits, but Elias Thorne saw only a quiet, wounded mystery. He was a young rancher fighting to save his late father's land from the jaws of ruthless, circling wolves. The Calder gang rode at dawn, 12 iron-shod riders with torches and deeds signed in bribery and blood. They had burned 3 homesteads already, and the smoke of those fires still stained the horizon like black mourning ribbons. Elias stood on his porch, a rifle in his trembling hands, knowing one shot wouldn't stop a dozen killers. He went to find Seraphina in the arroyo where she often knelt, her fingers tracing patterns in the dust. She was humming, her eyes closed, and the air around her shimmered with a strange, unnatural stillness he couldn't explain. The dust at her knees began to spiral, a tiny dancer obeying the vibration that thrummed from her scarred throat. He watched, breathless, as the spirals grew, twisting upward like clay snakes being pulled by an invisible, patient potter. He knelt beside her and asked if she could truly command the wind, the ancient dust, the very earth itself. She opened her eyes, and he saw not madness, but an ancient sorrow and a ferocious, protective love. She pressed her palm flat against his chest, feeling his heartbeat, then pointed to the distant rising cloud of riders. He understood without words. She needed his strength as an anchor, and he needed her song as a weapon. The Calder gang crested the ridge, their leader bellowing that the land now belonged to progress and iron rails. Seraphina stood, her bare feet planted in the parched soil, and began to hum the ancient, forbidden melody. The sound was low, guttural, a vibration that seemed to sink into the ground and awaken a sleeping dragon. Elias stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder, his rifle forgotten, his faith entirely absorbed by her rising power. The dust responded, lifting from the plains in great swirling sheets, a golden veil that blurred the advancing torches. The riders hesitated, their horses shying, their confident curses turning to confused shouts as the wind began to shriek. She raised her arms, and the melody shifted into a furious, keening wail that the earth had been waiting to hear. The sandstorm erupted, a massive, churning wall of grit and fury that swallowed the entire horizon in one breath. It was not a natural storm. It moved with purpose, targeting the riders while leaving the ranch house untouched. Elias watched the outlaws disappear into a blinding, scouring maelstrom, their screams swallowed by the roaring, vengeful gale. The leader tried to fire his pistol, but a tendril of sand lashed his hand, and the weapon clattered uselessly. The horses panicked, throwing their riders, and the iron-shod hooves scrambled backward against the relentless, intelligent, searing assault. The storm raged for 10 minutes, though it felt like an eternity of divine, dust-choked retribution. When it finally settled, the riders lay scattered, broken, and defeated, their torches extinguished, their bodies half buried in sand. They were not dead, but utterly humbled, their weapons stripped away, their arrogance ground into the dirt they had tried to steal. Seraphina collapsed, and Elias caught her, lowering her gently to the now settled, calm earth. The dust was warm beneath them, almost tender, as if the land itself was cradling its exhausted, beloved daughter. He carried her back to the ranch house, his heart pounding with a terrifying, exhilarating, and awestruck love. She slept for 2 days, and when she woke, her voice was a faint whisper, temporarily spent but not stolen. He told her the Calder gang had been arrested by the territorial marshal, their crimes finally exposed and judged. She smiled, a fragile, radiant expression, and wrote in the dust on the windowsill, "The land remembers who loves it." Their bond deepened into something profound, a partnership forged in a whirlwind, rooted in the quiet, solid earth. He learned the melody from her, not to summon storms, but to understand the language of the wind. She learned to write her thoughts, filling journals with poetry about dust, roots, and the heartbeat of the prairie. The settlers, once suspicious, now brought her gifts of seeds and asked for blessings on their newly safe fields. She would hum over their crops, and the drought seemed to loosen its grip, the soil yielding reluctant, green hope. Elias built her a small tower on the highest ridge, a place where she could sing to the approaching weather. She never summoned another weapon, only gentle rains and the soft breezes that guided the cattle home. Their love was a quiet, constant thing. Not a roaring storm, but the steady rhythm of a well-worn, trusting heart. He would watch her stand in the wind, her hair flying, and he knew he was married to the frontier itself. They had a child, a daughter, who hummed before she could speak, her tiny fingers always tracing spirals in the dirt. The grandmother's gift had passed down, and the land had found its next guardian in the little girl's innocent song. The Calder gang leader, released years later, returned to the valley and knelt at their gate, seeking forgiveness. Seraphina touched his forehead, hummed a low note, and he wept, saying the sound had cleaned something dark inside him. The legend spread across the territories. The dust singer and her rancher, the couple who commanded the prairie's ancient soul. Travelers would detour miles to glimpse her, but they found only a quiet woman planting sage and a doting husband. The tower on the ridge became a landmark, a pilgrimage site where people left offerings of water for the thirsty earth. Elias and Seraphina grew old, their bones bent, but their eyes still holding the reflection of that first furious storm. When she passed, a great dust devil rose from the plains and danced for 3 days before dissolving into gentle rain. The valley bloomed that spring as never before, a final gift from the woman who sang to the dust. Elias joined her a month later, his heart finally at peace, his soul ready to hear her melody again. They were buried side by side on the ridge, the tower standing guard over their simple, shared grave. The inscription read, "Here lie the dust singer and the rancher." The earth listened. The land is free. Their daughter, now a woman, teaches her own children the melody, and the cycle of protection continues unbroken. The prairie still hums on quiet evenings, a low vibration that the old-timers say is Seraphina still singing. And if an unjust rider ever crosses that land with malice, the dust begins to stir, a warning from the past. The lesson endures. Power does not always ride with iron and fire. Sometimes it rises from a barefoot woman humming. The frontier was built by many hands, but it was protected by the songs that the earth itself remembered. So listen to the wind and treat the land with love, for it may just save you when the outlaws come. Now please subscribe to Western Tales Official and ring the bell so you never miss a legendary frontier tale. Tell me in the comments, what would your song summon if you could speak to the ancient listening earth? Like this video if you believe in the quiet, elemental power of women and the men who believe them. Share it to remind someone that even the smallest voice can call forth a storm to protect what is sacred. From the parched arroyo to the blooming valley, this song is yours. Now carry it forward with reverence and love.